laughing emojis and said fair point. Pell sent me a message too. She said I've worked here 4 years and this is the best thing that's ever happened in a meeting. That weekend Darcy and I were at the grocery store and she tossed a small waffle iron into the cart. I looked at her and she just shrugged and said for Mondays. I married the right woman. Week 3. Monday I brought the waffle iron to my desk. I made a full waffle during the stand-up. Batter from scratch because I'd mixed it before the call started. I poured it into the iron and when I closed the lid, that first hiss of steam was so loud, Irving actually said, "What was that?" Nobody answered. 90 seconds later, the waffle iron beeped and I opened it up and pulled out a perfect golden waffle. I had syrup in a little ramekin and butter already cut into a pat. I assembled the whole plate on camera like I was on a cooking show. Joss unmuted and said, "I'm changing my lunch plans right now." Pell typed in the chat, "Can you do chocolate chip next time?" Irving just stared at his own camera for about 5 seconds then said, "Let's continue." His voice was flat, controlled, but there was something underneath it, something pressurized. Tuesday I made a panini. I didn't have a panini press, so I used the griddle and pressed the sandwich down with a heavy cast iron skillet. The weight of the skillet on the griddle made this metallic scraping sound that was deeply unpleasant on a conference call. I built the panini with turkey, pesto, mozzarella, and roasted red peppers I jarred myself last summer. Irving was discussing reassigning 2 of my projects to another analyst, and I was pressing a sandwich with a cast iron skillet. The contrast was not lost on anyone. When I lifted the skillet and the bread was perfectly pressed with those golden grill lines, I heard Joss whisper to himself, "Oh my God," before he remembered his mic was on. Irving's face didn't move, not a muscle. He just kept talking about resource allocation like a man on the edge of something he couldn't name. Wednesday of week 3 is when Irving finally broke. He was 15 minutes into a presentation about quarterly targets when I pulled out a cutting board, a chef's knife, and a raw onion. I started dicing. If you've never heard someone dice an onion over a conference call microphone, let me describe it for you. It is a rapid, rhythmic thudding that sounds like a tiny, aggressive woodpecker living inside someone's desk. I was going fast because I'd watched a YouTube video about knife skills the night before, and I wanted to try the claw technique where you curl your fingers over the onion and use your knuckles as a guide. The sound was relentless. Chop, 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 chop. Irving stopped mid-sentence. He stared directly into his camera. He said, "Can I ask what you're doing right now?" I looked up from the cutting board and said, "Making lunch." He said, "You're chopping an onion during my presentation." I said, "Yes, because this is my lunch hour." The call went dead silent. 5 people on the call, and not a single one made a sound. You could hear the fan on someone's laptop